Truthfully, to build your e-commerce business today, like right now, you need to approach it right. And that all comes down to...
You might be thinking that you can just watch a few videos and then wing it, but the truth is,
and that is the real secret that leads to long-term success with all of this.
and that is the reality of starting e-commerce today.
It's so crucial that you approach e-commerce differently if you're starting today versus how you would have done a few years ago. So I'd say the single best piece of advice I could give you today is...
If you're just starting out your e-commerce journey, you might feel like you're jumping into a sea of noise and lots of different advice coming at you from all different angles. And maybe you've got that question in your mind, is it a great time to start now? Or do I need to approach e-commerce differently if I'm going to get starting now? And I can see where you're coming from because there's lots of noise around marketing and paid ad strategy, and it can get confusing fast. So in this episode today, Lewis and I, we're going to go back and forth, cut through the noise, and talk about if you're going to start an e-commerce business today, how do you need to approach it for the fastest possible success? So, ready to dive into this, Lewis?
Let's do it. Yep, looking forward to this episode today. I think it's important that we break down the truth about building your e-commerce business using our HomeTurf Advantage model and why things like profit margins or choosing the right niche and just making sure that you get started on the right foot. Those things really matter and will set you up for either success or failure, depending on whether you follow them. So should be a good episode today.
100%. Yeah, and crucial. We do hear quite a lot of people thinking, is it a good time to start? And the things you mentioned already has got my mind whirring with potential avenues that we can take this down. The first thing is that marketing is obviously a big part. So marketing, when it comes to e-commerce, is just talking about how do we get people to look at our website, and it's trying to get the most interested possible people in our products ready on the site, and then we'll convert them when we get to that website. And some people might think that they want to do that organically, so using things like SEO, so getting people to search on Google for your products and for you to rank highly on the search results. However, we know that to get started, paid ads must play a big part in making sales initially. So how would you view this if you were starting now and you were thinking about how can I actually make sales for my business? How do you view that difference between getting sales organically versus getting sales using paid ads?
Yeah, so just to clarify the term there, organically, like you said, meaning like without paying for the traffic. So just hoping that we're going to rank on the search engines usually will be the way that people find us. And I'm not saying that that doesn't work. It certainly does. It's just a bit of a slower burn. It's something that will happen as a result of setting your website up correctly. And there are, of course, things you can do to optimize that process and your search engine optimization, your ranking in the search engines and on the LLM tools and things like that. But organic marketing is slower unless you have a specific set of expertise or, I don't know, you run an SEO agency or something. But even that still takes time. You know, you can have all the tricks in the book, but you can't necessarily magic tons of traffic overnight. However, with ads, you can. It's very much just a switch, a tap that you just switch on and suddenly you have traffic. That's how Google make the majority of their money. It's through having the ability for advertisers to just appear at the top of the search results and buy their way to the top. So to succeed today, if you want to get that process rolling and you want to be able to pay for traffic, you need to have enough profit margin from your suppliers, from your products, to be able to run ads sustainably, because anybody can just switch on ads. But if you're selling, $20 trinkets and widgets and you start paying to be at the top of Google search results, yeah, you'll make sales, but you'll probably lose money because it will cost you more to appear at the top and make those sales than you'll earn in profit. So that's not really a business. That's just making a few sales and then running out of cash. So if you don't have a large budget, if you're not like a venture capital backed e-commerce company starting out with really deep pockets who's willing to run at a loss for years and years and years before eventually being acquired for billions, like if that's not your strategy and you just want to replace your income and use this as a way to supplement your income or your retirement or wherever you are in life, then I'd argue that you can't really afford to spend months figuring this out, hoping that SEO works. You need a proven system that lets you learn while you're earning from like week one with this. And that's the beauty of ads with the HomeTurf Advantage model that we use, where we sell higher value products with enough profit on each sale to fund both the ad spend, but also be left with plenty of profit in those sales for you to be able to run an effective business. So, for example, if you're selling a product that's £1,000 and you net £300 profit on that sale, say you buy it from your supplier for 700 and sell it for 1,000 retail price, then you have a £300 kind of buffer to play with. You might spend £50 to acquire that sale on ads, but you're still netting £250 in profit. Now double that. Imagine you're selling a product for £2,000 and you're making £600 in profit on that sale. Now we've really got some kind of cash reserves to play with in every single transaction. So you see why you could run a business and make just one sale per day of £2,000. And, I know from experience, many of our members are making a lot more than one sale per day, but even at just one sale per day, £2,000 retail price, £600 net profit. After ad spend, you could be pretty poor at running your ads and end up spending £150 to acquire that sale, and you'd still be left with, was that £450, £500 in profit? So you can see why it works and why the room for error, the room for a beginner who's not that experienced is just so much greater. You have a safety buffer with this versus trying to make it work at such small profit margins and such low numbers. You see these e-commerce companies that sell these low price products just go into the red for so many months, if not years, before hopefully turning it around later. I didn't have the luxury of doing that. Most of our members don't have the luxury and the deep pockets to be able to do that. So we just make sure that we're making a profit from the outset with our business, and that's the way we set it up.
Yeah, and it's a brilliant system. The penny really dropped for me when I first started running ads after joining the Dropship Unlock Masterclass. And I realized that it was different from the type of dropshipping business model that I had done in the past, where I was trying to sell low ticket items in the past. And therefore I only had maybe £5, £10 profit per order to play with in order to generate that sale from paid ads. Whereas when I joined Dropship Unlock Masterclass, learned from yourself, Lewis, and started to sell high ticket products with an average order value of about £1,200, I suddenly had about £300 to £400 of profit per order. And that £300 to £400 profit per order is there for me to play with and make sales through the different marketing campaigns that you showed me how to set up. And that really can't be understated how important it is to have £300 to £400 to spend to acquire a customer versus having £5 to £10. Think about it like the level of expertise should be obvious to think about when you realize if you've got a lot more money to spend, you've got a lot more mistakes that you're able to make, and you can be a lot less efficient with your marketing when you're making more per sale. So I had that room, so I still had lots of margin left over when I was making the sales, and that's what allowed me to generate income quickly from the business and then reinvest some of that profit into more ads and scale from that position onwards and upwards from there. So the biggest thing for me with this HomeTurf Advantage model was having big enough markets to justify going into paid ads, because paid ads will get you money quickly, and getting money quickly was the aim of the game. I didn't start e-commerce to wait for 5 years before making money. I wanted to get up and running within months rather than years. And that was the case for me when following the program. So another thing that we hear a lot, a common question, is people asking, well, how quickly can I actually start seeing results then? So given that a lot of people aren't going to join with huge budgets and they're going to join similar positions with us, we've got some savings put aside to get into business, but we don't have tens of thousands of pounds waiting. What would your advice be to those people considering how long it's going to take with that kind of budget?
Yeah, well, this is very dependent on your model, and the situation you just described there, James, is the situation for so many of our members that come into this. So that's not unusual at all to be coming into the program with 10, 15 grand, in savings. So I think the thing to remember is that with this model, you don't need the capital to tie up in stock like you would in Amazon FBA, for example, where you'd have to buy a container's worth of stock or a huge minimum order quantity and then hope that it sells, and then hope that Amazon don't reject the items, and then hope that your Amazon account doesn't get suspended, and then hope that you still have enough margin after all the other people and competitors try and cut the price and discount the items. So with this, you're building a brand. It's on your platform, it's on your website, but you're totally right. You need to hit the ground running. We don't have the luxury of waiting. I would probably still be working my job that I quit 8 years ago if I was doing the kind of loss-making model, and I'd just be eating into my savings, making sales, but not making enough profit for this to become my full-time thing. The way I did it was within that first year of running the business, I was able to leave my job. And, since then I've been doing it ever since. So yeah, if you want to hit the ground running with this, like you said, you need to have something where you can switch on the tap and have qualified customers landing on your store with their cards out, ready to make payment, ready to go. So a program like ours gives you that framework so that you just get to start where we left off. You're not coming in and doing the 8 years of experimentation and trial and error that we've done. That's all just there laid out for you. And it's you stand on our shoulders and begin from where we got to. That's the benefit of this. And that's why people make the investment. It's because they realize it would be a lot more expensive not doing this than doing it, because it would cost them so much in wasted time, in wasted money, getting it wrong. So the key with all of this is about being informed and guided and making sure that you're building on others' mistakes and that you're using a system that kind of reverse engineers the outcome that you want. So if we talked about the outcome of being, I've joined the program and I want to be able to leave my job within 6 months. Okay, well, let's work backwards. How many sales do we need? How much profit does each sale need to be generating to do that? How much can we spend to acquire those sales on ads? You see why, when you start to run the numbers like that, we've designed it the way we have. It's because we know that you need several sales per week. You'll need a good profit on each one of those sales to make sure the ads are covered and you've got profit set aside. And then before you know it, you can start to either reinvest some of that money into other business ventures, into property, or take it off the table, put it into pensions, into ISAs, into things that, build your future for your family. That's the beauty with this. You're not having to run this huge operation with loads of team members and thousands of orders. You can make it work with a handful of orders per week with the right niche, the right products, the right marketing. But those things all have to be done correctly. And I think the danger is that people hear this kind of like surface level conversation that we have on the podcast and assume that they kind of piece it all together and then they'll be fine. That rarely happens. Most of the time, people will listen to many, many episodes of our podcast, and then when they join us, they're like, "Oh, I didn't realize like there was this level of technicality to it in terms of like the step-by-step process." And it's very simple. We lay it out very, very simply in terms of step-by-steps, but you do have to get it right. You do have to follow that process. It's there for a reason. And so that's the way that I would advise getting it set up if you want to get moving immediately, rather than, leave it to chance and wait a year and see if you start ranking on Google organically. It's probably not going to happen.
It's a long game. It's going to be a long time waiting for you to rank organic on Google high up, especially if you don't have any expertise or if you're not learning from anyone else who's done that already. But yeah, I can confidently say that the only reason I was able to go from having my modest starting investment to where I am today is because of the fact that I could put that modest investment to really hard work. And I wasn't like throwing loads of cash at it because I had loads of cash. I had a modest investment. I put it into a program and I followed it to the letter, the Dropship Unlocked Masterclass. And yeah, I know that without that, I would have been so lost on so many different occasions when it came down to like the difficult questions that you get from customers, or the difficult responses you get from suppliers sometimes when you're trying to sign the suppliers, or when my marketing campaign had got 30 days of data. How would I have known how to optimize from that position without guidance? It's like a completely different language. And trying to interpret it without somebody guiding you through and showing you what to look at inside an ad account is, it's like trying to take up on a new language without having any guidance at all from tutors. So it's, has to be done. So crucial. Another thing that is just completely foreign, unless you've started things before, is choosing which products to sell. And it is a skill. It's not something that you're, just a talent you can pick out with a gut instinct. You have to learn the skill of finding the right products. So today, Lewis, if you were starting a new dropshipping or e-commerce brand from scratch and you wanted to decide which products to sell based on data, how would you go about choosing a product to sell today?
Yeah, so we've laid this out again in a very systematic, data-driven way. So we tried to take emotion out of the equation. We don't want people being led by a gut instinct and being like, well, I heard that a friend was making money selling this and I think it will work. Like, it's very much based on niche validation data. So we've got a whole list of niche validation criteria and lessons where we guide you through, like, this is how to find out the search demand. These are the search demand thresholds that you want your niche of products to be within to ensure that there's enough demand for your business going forward. This is the minimum number of suppliers that we would look for. This is how to find out if those suppliers are dropshipping. These are the other factors to look for. So there's lots of different criteria, so that by the end of going through that process, you'll have a niche that you're happy with, not only based on the fact that you're confident that you're going to make money and you're excited about going into that, but you can sleep easy knowing that it's built on data. It's backed by cold, hard numbers and information that you're confident you've researched. You've done your business plan, you've done your research. And so you know that you can then ride that wave instead of entering a business and then trying to drum up demand. That's a tough, thing to do. It's expensive, it's time consuming, it's energy draining. You see these people kind of who've done that and they've, bought loads of products on from Alibaba or something. And then you see them like posting to this Facebook page that's got no followers and no likes, like trying to drum up interest. And it must be demoralizing. So that's not what we're doing. We're basically saying, okay, where are the starving, hungry crowd? Like, where are people already queuing for food at the festival? Let's go and put our food truck next to that existing food truck and just take a few of those customers in there, because we know there's a queue of hungry people already. That's the kind of model here that we're talking about. We're talking about selling products that we know are evergreen, they're in demand, they're constantly being searched for. It's not some trend that, is here today, gone tomorrow. We're building long-term, sustainable, reputable brands, like legacies for our family that we could pass down to our children in time. So that's kind of one of the keys. Obviously, we want to make sure that the market we're going into isn't too saturated, but just finding our opportunity, our niche in these markets to make sure that we can add our spin to it and our unique, personalized approach to it. And yeah, before you know it, you have your business up and running, making sales, and you'll look back and think, oh, wow, it all fell into place. But it wasn't by coincidence. It was very intentionally engineered that way. It was designed that way. You miss just one of those criteria, you're going to end up with problems down the line, because they're all there, not because I like making people do, calculations and put numbers into a spreadsheet. It's because I know that later on, if you don't do that, it will come back to bite you.
Yeah, it'd be pretty sadistic to enjoy watching people enter numbers into a spreadsheet. So it's all based on the fact that the long-term payoff, the delayed gratification of doing some research online to find a winning niche that's backed by data. You can either put the work in up front to choose a profitable niche, or you can put the work in down the line when you have to start over again because the niche you've rushed into isn't working out. So yeah, it's a great approach. And the way that I like to look at it as well, the way that we choose niches is that we are looking for markets, we're looking for products that are already trending and selling online with online-only retailers. And we're jumping on the back of the market, and we're jumping on the back of the fact that there's already demand, and we're putting our products in front of people who are already searching for those products. Now, the difference with that is, think of the way that ice baths have grown in popularity in the last few years. There was a leading brand, I believe in the US, I think they're called Plunge. And what their brand did is they became the trailblazers, if you like, and they would have spent millions in investor capital, I imagine. Don't know the backstory, but this is an example of what a lot of markets do. The leader has to spend millions in trailblazing and creating the demand for that product. And because they do that and they're the first mover, they make a really pretty penny. And it's not saying against anything like that. But for myself, with no investor capital and without any expertise in getting capital together or any expertise in building demand for a product, I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to go into ice bath, for example, after the trailblazer has created all this demand, and then I'll start selling the best products from within that niche to people who are already searching and already aware of the products. So that's the way we operate. It means you don't have to have as much capital up front. It means you don't have to have as much expertise up front, but it means you can get money back and start earning a lot quicker than having to wait for the market to catch up, if you like. So we've been through this in other podcast episodes, this whole process of how to choose products that actually sell. So if you look out for episode number 143, which is only a few back, we went through the whole process on how to choose products that actually sell. That's episode 143. So Lewis, finally, for anyone that's going to get started today and maybe they feel like they don't know the best place to start because there's lots of advice coming from everywhere, where would you suggest that they begin?
Well, yeah, I think just to wrap up that final point that you made there is a really good one, because I speak to a lot of people who are applying to join our program and they're like, I've, I don't know, taken voluntary redundancy, or I've got a, severance package, and they're like, I've got 50K or so to put into this business. And I'm like, you won't need it. You probably need 1/10 of that to get started. The thing is, you got to, like, I don't want to be beholden to investors. I don't want a load of like venture capitalists who've invested in my business, breathing down my neck, chasing me for like quarterly profit reports, knowing that, I'm kind of answering to them. I left the corporate world because I wanted to not have to deal with that level of like red tape, bureaucracy, and accountability to someone else for my own performance and my income. I wanted to be accountable to myself because I know I'm driven. So I think that's the other missing piece here, that people come into this and they think, oh, but wouldn't having investment make it easier? And the answer is actually no, it'd probably make it harder, because, there would be so many other hoops to jump through. So actually building a business that is, you call it bootstrapped, in that it's cash flow positive from the beginning and it self-funds, it self-grows. That's one of the best skills you can possibly learn, because no one can then take that away from you. You do this once and you build a business that makes 10, 15, 20, 30 grand a month. That's an amazing skill, to be able to take an idea from your mind and then implement it and execute it on it to the point where it replaces a person's full-time income and can actually generate someone else's income if you decide to hire a virtual assistant, or a family member or something to help with your emails and customer services. So like that, to me, is such a great life skill. It's like the core essence of entrepreneurship. It's such a valuable skill that I think so many people just never encounter throughout their lives, because they're kind of shielded within the like working world, the corporate world, answering to the man, in this kind of like small cog in a big machine. But sometimes it's like, it's so empowering to realize I can take an idea from scratch, bring it to fruition to the point where it's like paying my own like you can then go anywhere in the world, you can run any kind of business because you've got those skills. So it's an incredible skill set alone. But I think if you're getting started now and you're thinking, right, I love all this, I like the sound of it, where do I start? The foundations are the first place. So it's like all of those things we've talked about are really intentional. The niche, the market that you choose will be dictated by the different niche validation criteria. It will be dictated by, are the suppliers in that niche already doing the dropshipping model to your customers? Are they in the UK? Is there enough demand in the UK for the niche, the products that you're thinking of selling? And keeping it really simple. People jump in and they're like, do I need to be running like Facebook ads and TikTok ads? And do I need to do this and that? And like, we run a really, really simple marketing campaign because I don't want to have to manage thousands of different platforms. We keep it very simple. We don't get caught up in like learning things without implementing. Every single thing in our program is laid out with an action associated with it. So it's like, learn this, then do the thing and see the results from it, and then learn this and then do the thing. I'm not just like, giving hours and hours of lectures and then hoping people retain that knowledge. That's pointless, right? In this sense. So making sure that you're around a community of other people that are doing this as well will be really beneficial. I think having that mentorship is key, and just learning from other people who have not just done this years ago, but people who are doing it right now with you, alongside you. They're going through that journey with you. That's invaluable. That kind of camaraderie, that peer-to-peer support, so good. And out of that, sometimes business partnerships are formed or friendships are formed. And so for anyone who's starting out now and you're thinking, I think I want to do this, I think I want to move out of my profession, or maybe things have changed at work, maybe there's an opportunity for a career change that's arisen. If you want to jumpstart your business, avoid the common mistakes and just get things up and running quickly without all the headache and the cash being risked on stock that may never sell, head over to dropshipunlocked.com/start. We've laid everything out for you right there to get you started on the right foot.
Are you enjoying the podcast? We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment or a review and we might feature it in an upcoming episode. And for detailed show notes and resources, visit dropshipunlocked.com/podcast.
If you found value in any episode of this podcast, please could you take just 10 seconds to leave us a quick 5-star review on your favorite podcast app? It helps us more than you can imagine. And who knows, you might just hear your comments read out on the show. Thanks for being a part of our community. Your support helps us keep delivering new episodes to you every week.
Now we're going to answer a question that's come in from a listener of a previous episode. So if you have any questions that have been coming up while have been listening or watching today's episode, then simply comment beneath the YouTube video version of this episode. And it won't just be answered in the comments, it may also be featured in an upcoming episode. So that is exactly what Michelle has done. So Michelle has asked, I have received an email from a potential supplier saying that they do not accept online-only retail business. How should I respond?
That's a great question, Michelle. And you've got to, when you're looking at suppliers, so this actually goes right back to what we were talking about earlier. When you're selecting which niche you're going into, one of the things we'll be doing is looking in that niche to identify that the suppliers within that niche are already open to doing this and are already doing it. So they're already dropshipping. And this is one of those criteria that avoids you later on running into this situation that you found yourself in at the moment. So it's okay. You can, there are ways of figuring it out, and I'll talk you through some strategies now. But that is just an example of one of the niche validation criteria coming into play later on, in that you won't hit that same kind of dilemma if you figured out that the suppliers that you're looking to contact are already open to doing this. So I think the first thing that you can do is pick up the phone, have a chat to them, put a face to, or put a voice to the name, I guess, if it's the phone, and just make sure that they understand that you're a serious business owner, that, they realize you're a real person. I think a lot of these companies might just be spooked by the idea of someone trying to just list their products on eBay and then, discount them and annoy all their other retailers by undercutting everyone on price and then offering awful customer service and then just disappearing overnight. Like, we see retailers do that, and you can see why the brand would be wary of that. They would be kind of nervous of that. So we just got to tell them that we're not them. We're not those people. We're here to stay. We're entering this market for the long term. We've researched it, and that you're ready to invest into paid ads to promote their brand. That line alone has helped me land suppliers in the past who haven't ordinarily dropshipped. And sometimes they're really good suppliers because they've maybe not even heard of the term, or they don't do that. But as soon as they realize you're now going to market their products and that you will pay them the trade price for each product that you sell ahead of them dispatching the items, suddenly for them, if you put yourself in their shoes, they're a business owner that manufactures products. You're saying you'll just pay them for products and they can just send them out. Like, that's a dream come true for a lot of manufacturers and suppliers. So it also shows you're focused on building their brand, which is what they want as well. And you're doing it online as well, rather than like getting a shop and hoping that customers come to your shop. You're able to reach people from all corners of the country immediately by running ads. So that's another great way of doing it. There are other things as well. We've got some supplier contact scripts where we talk about like how you can weave the potential of a physical premises into the conversation, and actually how you can even get a physical premises for a very low monthly cost if you need one to land a supplier, and then that generates you more sales. That's all kind of more advanced stuff that we go through inside our program. But you just want to position yourself as a low risk partner who's focused on immediate growth and performance for them, because then they'll think, well, it's a no-brainer. Yeah, absolutely. So good luck, Michelle, in signing that supplier. But just remember, go back a step to your niche validation criteria if they say that they're not willing to work with you, because there are plenty more suppliers in many, many niches who are already set up for this, who you don't need to convince because they're already doing it.
Exactly. They are out there. They're working with others, and they'll work with you as well, especially if you do, as Lewis said there, and position yourself as a no-brainer offer, because you're not selling anything to them. In fact, you are asking to buy from them, essentially, and you're asking to buy from them repeatedly with lots of sales over the years. So go in with that mindset, knowing that you're providing a fantastic offer and you'll get them over the line. Okay. Also, we want to highlight a recent review that we've had for the podcast as well. So a big thank you to @StartupHem. She left an Apple podcast review, and it is a great one. So I'll read it out now. She said, "Absolutely stellar podcast for e-commerce entrepreneurs. A must listen that deserves every bit of its 5-star rating."
Wow, that's very kind. Thank you very much for your lovely review, Startup Hem. We really appreciate it. As we wrap up today's episode then, one question I have for you, if you've been listening right through to this point, is who do you know that could potentially benefit from hearing the conversation we've had today? Open up your phone right now and just click share and send them a link to this episode, maybe on WhatsApp or on Facebook or Insta, and just say, I thought you might enjoy this. You never know. That tiny gesture could be the thing that changes the direction of their life for the better, and they'll have you to thank for it.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast. We hope you are leaving with new insights and inspiration to fuel your entrepreneurial journey.
To kickstart your e-commerce business, head over to dropshipunlocked.com/start. It's the perfect place to start and get access to resources that will help you build your business from the ground up.
And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more episodes packed with strategies, tips, and success stories. Plus, if you enjoyed this episode today, a 5-star review would mean the world to us, and you might even get a shout out on the next episode.
Thank you for choosing to spend your time with us today. We can't wait to bring you more insights on the next episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast.